ordered Google to hand over the names, addresses, telephone numbers, and user activity of those who watch certain YouTube videos. The feds were trying to track down a criminal and were apparently tracking you in the process. The senior national correspondent Kevin Corke is live in D.C. with the big news about Big Brother. Kevin, good evening.
Evening, Trace. According to Forbes, the government asking Google to give up names, addresses, phone numbers, and user activity of all account users who accessed certain YouTube videos back in January of 2023, as you mentioned, as part of a larger criminal investigation. Now, in another instance, police also asked Google to provide a list of accounts that viewed and or interacted with YouTube live streams that could lead to information, again, on what they claim was a police search. Privacy experts tell Fox Business tonight this discovery is absolutely terrifying, saying it allows the police to target people for simply consuming content. Quote, "It's unconstitutional, it's terrifying, and it's happening every day. These YouTube warrants are just as chilling, allowing police to target people simply for the content they consume. No one should fear and knock at the door from police simply because of what YouTube's algorithm serves up."
All right, more of my theme of now, which is shocking but not surprising.
It's Hunley's new motto, shocking, not surprising. You're right. I mean, holy crap, was that weird.
Yep. Anyway, I had to play that. It's not completely surprising. Of course, they're saying it was for a criminal case. That's what they do. Remember San Bernardino? They said, hey, they're not going to go in and just say, oh, we want to monitor everybody. They're going to say, no, there's this really, really bad person who did things with kids, and we want to get that. And then you say, look, you have free rights. You can't be just monitoring people indiscriminately. And they'll say, oh, so you're okay with these bad things that are happening to people. And it always goes down that route. It was a Patriot Act in the Audis. And it was like, if you argued against the invasion of privacy, it was like, oh, so you like terrorism? And it's just shifted now to, oh, you like CP. Oh, you like this.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I'm not used to these code words, but I got
it. But we're starting out the day in a typical fashion.
Well, they're also going door to door. Do you see that article? The FBI?
Yes.
About social media posts, just like in the UK, Eric.
Yeah. So we've got the FBI visiting houses over tweets. And I did actually reach out to the person involved, trying to see if I could get an interview. But sadly, not sadly, I totally understand. They wrote back that they're still dealing with problems with their family and a criminal and everything else, and they really don't want to go out.
Who? These people here in the picture you're talking about, or?
Yeah, this is FBI.
A family.
Right. The individual who posted this, I reached out to them. This is the FBI coming to their house, and this is the tweet that spurred this on. And it's talking about somebody being on parole or probation who was involved with, they're saying, with a overdose, just body disposal. They're saying drugging. Anyway, obviously a very controversial thing. I've got to tap dance with YouTube, and they're coming after these people who are kind of grieving their relative. So class X. So you complain, they knock on your door. Think about that.
Right.
Wow. And they'll say, well, they didn't tell them to do anything. They're not telling them to take it down. But how intimidating is that for cops or the FBI to come to your door?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, it is scary. And maybe there is controversy over, the death of the relative. But, there's controversy, fine. But people have a right to express that they don't think something is fair. They don't think that a person should be out or shouldn't be out. Do it all the time, right? I mean, we have.
It sounds like it's under the same umbrella.
Well, sure. And let's be honest. We have an idiot online that we like to talk about every once in a while, since he's trying to find his way or worm his way back into the news. Our old friend Jon Stewart. He
Oh,
went
dear
after
God.
Kevin Leary,
Wow.
talking about how Trump deserved that, giant ass verdict put against him. And lo and behold, oh, wait, no, Jon Stewart himself practices the exact same thing, getting 829% of the overvalue of his New York City home while he's saying, or not at the same time, but he did it himself in 2014. There you go. This is a guy pointing a finger at Trump.
Well, should he go down and pay his taxes?
Well, no, here's the irony is defending Jon Stewart is actually defending Donald Trump, because Jon Stewart could say the city did the assessment. That's their problem.
Right.
So, well, you know what? The city did Trump's assessment too.
Right.
I mean, it
true.
just
no. They do everybody's assessment.
Right, and nobody sells something at an assessed value. And if New York is letting people sell things at 10 times, 20 times the assessed value, well, then New York might have a problem. I don't know if that's necessarily the person's problem. If I had an apartment or something in New York and I was selling it and it was assessed for, I don't know, $100,000, and somebody offered me $1 million, would I go correcting them saying, no, you really should probably give me closer to 150,000?
Aren't things reassessed though? I mean, periodically in
Sure.
real estate. I mean, don't urban municipalities go back and reassess, or even suburban municipalities? I mean, don't they reassess homes that are in the suburbs too?
Oh, yes. I mean, my house gets reassessed every year because the city depends on property tax, and you always kind of opening the envelope and saying, "Oh, it didn't go up this year," or "Oh, it went down a little."
I think in New York they're simply not doing their own job.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a New York tax collection problem.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to figure out what. Yeah, apparently the Marxists are very good at collecting taxes, but it seems like in the urban environments they're not so good, Eric.
Well, I mean, a lot of the Marxists involved are rich.
Oh, they have a house too. They live in this. They live in the city, and they have a condo that they own.
Yeah, it's kind of like, okay, it's a very similar principle to all the people in the universities who are talking about the lack of representation by, with diversity in the universities, and they typically are white, middle-aged, and the question is, well, then why don't you resign? It looks like you're taking a slot.
Taking a slot. They should resign and also get somebody to replace them. And they should train the person to replace them.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Yeah. And that might take 6 months or a year. So we'll give them like a leeway there of 1 year to get out of their career.
But they're good people.
Anywhere they go, they're going to have to resign. Even if they go to somewhere else, they're taking the place of some DEI person.
Absolutely. And they
I like that policy. I like that.
They believe in it. It's the 90.
Yeah. You know what? I don't know of anyone who's ever done that. There must be somebody who's done it, but I don't know of anybody. If anybody knows of it at home, I'd love to see the case of somebody who had enough courage to actually do that. It's either academic, or it could be a corporate thing too.
Yeah. Yep. I'm sure somebody has done it. That person, cheers. It's kind of like, I'm sure somebody actually has moved to Canada when their candidate lost a presidential election.
That's
had to be one.
It had to be one, right?
But nobody.
Dude, they're asking for reparations now for people who used to live at Dodger Stadium before it was built. I swear to God, a city councilman here has now filed a bill to give money reparations to the people who lived there over 60 years ago.
Right.
By the way, there's good news. The deputy mayor of Los Angeles under Garcetti was convicted in less than an hour by a federal jury for bribery, corruption, RICO statutes. So he's going to federal prison now. I think this is the fourth person in a row in the same investigation, by the way, that has now led up to the actual door of the ambassador to India, Mr. Garcetti.
And we got to go into that. Okay. There's 5,000 chats. I have seen every single one that Mark's mic is giving us problems. I'm trying to set it. He's trying to set it. Please.
Keep commenting. Keep commenting because that's helpful.
Again, we've talked. There's electrical issues and things like that, and it is sometimes hard to find the go. Speaking of which, I went through a bit of electrical drama in my house, which was complete nightmare yesterday. I woke up and my UPS, uninterruptible power supply, power surge is squeaking. I'm like, oh, great. So I go to the breaker and it's spongy. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I could probably just go buy a breaker, but I better get a professional in here. Yeah. Get a professional in. So now 4 plugs outlets later with like them falling in half, completely rewiring. One outlet was so bad that the ground wire, the bare wire, had 120 volts going through it.
Oh, dear God.
It's not fun when the electrician's like screaming, I can't believe this place is going to burn down. And I'm just like, okay, I got it. I know it's bad. Can you?
No, I have a similar problem. It's not a microphone. It's not computer. It's power. I live in an old building and it's just too much of a surge sometimes and it backs up. So the mic is state of the art. I got the Shure MV7 and the computer, the lighting, everything. It's just this power that, well, maybe it's, Eric, maybe it's the fact that they're trying to run so many electric cars in California that the grid is now backing up. RFK said he'd love to take power from the California grid in that 2011 speech. He'd love to take electricity from people's homes. So I don't know. Maybe he has figured out how to do it, with his new vice presidential candidate.
Okay. Somebody asked, how old is my house? It was built in 1895. So it's so old that the electricity has been replaced probably 3 times and it's still old.
Mine's 1970, but that's LA 1970. So,
oh God, your place is as old as I am.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's switch back to New York. Interesting, visual yesterday. I like what Benny Johnson put out here. It's so perfect. Today, 4 living presidents are in New York City. 3 are going to a fundraising event with Stephen Colbert and Lizzo. That's obviously important for our country. And then 1 is at a wake for a slain NYPD officer.
I just want to point out that I don't know about Colbert. I mean, he's obviously an A-list TV guy because of his show. But Lizzo was charged with all kinds of sexual harassment by her own dancers. Brutalizing them. And this is yet to be finalized, how she's going to deal with her sexually assaulted dancers of the Lizzo organization. So may not have been the smartest choice, but I guess they wanted someone from the now shrinking Black community of Biden followers. But Obama was there. I'm sure they could have gotten Diddy. Well, I'll take that back. I'm sure they could have. There must have been someone who was a Black performer who they could have gotten hold of other than Lizzo. And dude, I mean, the protest by the Hamas people was absolutely joyful. I was sitting here eating popcorn, watching them dragging out protesters heckling Biden. I mean, holy crap, was that fun. I mean, how much money did they pay for these protests to get in there?
I don't know, but they keep going. They keep going.
Dude, I said to someone last night, it's almost as if they're protesting a modern day LBJ for the Vietnam War that was LBJ's. This is another country having a military incursion against a group that terrorized them. But the level of protest is equal to the Vietnam War protest against LBJ, while this is not our war. You know what I'm saying? The analogy I'm making, Eric?
Yeah. In a sense, yeah. But, I mean, I don't know.
It's bizarre. In other words, if France was in a war with Angola again, or some sort of military thing, and they were protesting, because France was in a war with Angola, that we should now cut off France as our ally. That's the equivalent of what's going on here. It's not our war. In other words, where were these people for Afghanistan? Where were these people for these other wars? And yet they're going berserk against Biden, which is quite joyful to watch, Eric.
Definitely. I mean, and yeah, you're right. It took me a second to get my head around, but yeah, absolutely. It's it's not our troops over there,
right?
We're not even doing as much for that as we are for Ukraine, as far as I know. I think it's kind of just like, just shut up and let them do their thing, and that's what I really recommend.
And they go, well, we give money to Israel. We give an equal amount of money to the military dictatorship in Egypt, for Christ's sakes. I don't see them protesting outside the Egyptian embassy. I mean, they're closing the borders because they don't want Palestinians coming into their country.
True. Well, back, you dropped the name a minute ago, so I mean, I'm curious about this. What do you think? Who did Diddy diddle?
Look, Diddy done be going down, and Diddy's got a lot of names. He's a black Epstein at this point. He has a lot of names. He has a lot of black books, and I don't mean that racially. Diddy knows a lot, and there's people who don't like what Diddy been doing. So Diddy, a lot of people around Diddy have been talking to the feds, bitter Diddyites.
Yes, and Diddy.
Sometimes you get too big for your own britches. I mean, I remember when Diddy killed 125 people in a fire up in CUNY up in New York, when he put on a concert with no fire exits and they all burned to death.
Oh, I thought that was just Great White.
I don't know what Great White is, but Diddy was involved.
The rock band.
Oh, no, that's something else. No,
okay.
Google Diddy fire, if I remember correctly. It's been a while, but anyway, I just want to give a shout out to Jonathan Diller and his family that Trump went to visit in Massapequa yesterday. That dichotomy, you're absolutely correct, is completely insane, of these three ignoramus, apparently bubble people who have no idea what's going on in the state or city of New York, that this cop was brutally executed by a guy who had over 21 arrests, completely released every single time. His sidekick had just the same amount of arrests, and both of them, they wouldn't comply and killed this cop. The guy, oddly enough, never heard this before, kept a shiv in his rectum permanently. I know you can make that face, but it's not going to change anything, honey.
I just don't. Oh my God.
You don't know what it's like, life on the streets, homicide.
Did he have a booty bumper to go with it?
The booty bumper kit that he got allowed him to insert, I guess, a wrapped shiv or shank into his rectum permanently. In case he was arrested, he had the shiv on him.
I've heard of sword swallowing, but this is a bit of a different direction, man.
Right. Well, I guess he'd been in prison so many times that he figured it's going to happen again. So he kept it in there.
He must have some serious scar tissue just working it out.
Or enemies that he's got beef with back in the joint. You know what I mean? He's got to protect himself in the joint.
Oh, my God. Oh, well, I don't even know how to pivot. I have nothing clever to say, but I know people want to talk about this.
What?
The illustrious RFK and his great VP pick.
Oh, my God. This is so crazy. This is better than Amaryllis Fox, Eric. It really is. I mean, first of all, her background, she's in Chinese honeypot. Let me just get this straightened out right off the bat. Her mother is Chinese. She was raised by her mother and a bipolar, schizophrenic white dad in Oakland, California. The mother spoke Chinese, and the father just beat her unmercifully and drunk, whatever he was. And she ended up going to college and learning Mandarin and going to the University of Singapore as an exchange student, getting involved in AI, eventually hooking up with Bryn, the founder of Google, having a kid with Bryn. She's apparently a serial divorcer. These are short-term marriages that she had. She comes from poverty. So she had these short-term, high-end, financial, successful divorces. The one with Bryn took 2 years to resolve because she claimed that agreement that she had between him, I forget what it's called, the agreement when you sign a prenuptial agreement. She said it was signed under duress, and she extracted $1 billion out of his $9 billion wealth. She has an autistic kid, and she has been involved in Democratic politics for many, many years, including, which has been now broadcast out to the world. She is one of the secret benefactors of the Marxist DA, George Gascon, here in Los Angeles. When she was at Stanford, which is a CIA recruiting station, Eric, she had been involved in a San Francisco district attorney criminal project in school. So she was already, I believe, involved with Gascon. I don't mean sexually, I mean politically, when he was district attorney of San Francisco. So I think that's the connection between her and Gascon. She also funded Proposition J, which takes away any incarceration for anybody and sends them to treatment here in Los Angeles. She doesn't live in Los Angeles. She lives up there. She's funding DAs in other counties and other cities like Gascon in LA. She's funding these propositions here in LA, doesn't live here. Again, super dangerous woman. But what people don't realize about her is the honeypot Chinese connection once again. She identifies as Chinese, and she speaks fluent Mandarin. She goes to China. I think this is a honeypot operation against RFK. He may be sucked into this thing. She's 37 years old and apparently has had sex. And the reason her marriage with Bryn broke up, Bryn, just so you know, came from the Soviet Union with his family. He's one of these leftist communist guys, Eric, that I talked to you many times about during the collapse of the Soviet Union, who came here either just before collapse or soon after and got embellished and embedded in leftist democratic Marxist politics in the United States. That's who the co-founder of Google was that she married, just so people know who I'm talking about. I was kidding around about the current on the last week, which the current CEO is an Indian communist. Bryn, the original founder, came from the USSR. Completely different animal, but the same thing. It's still a Marxist company, Eric. You know what I mean?
So more than that.
Yeah, right. I know.
No.
So
I'm saying Stanford and CIA.
Yeah. Yes, I mentioned. That's what I mentioned. Yes,
they're very much behind Google itself. And how far back does Stanford go? Well, we're on the internet, right? The internet came out of DARPA, and it was called DARPANet, which was a partnership, if you will, with Stanford. I forget the other universities and the Defense Department and CIA. So it's Stanford's riddled with CIA.
Oh, no. And that's where she went. And she was hooked up with the social justice warriors out of the DA's office in San Francisco at the time. The fact that people are now saying that was then, this is now, is so crazy to me, because I'm supposed to get rid of everyone's politics around RFK, including himself, that goes back 24 months. You know what I mean, Eric? She funded his Super Bowl commercial, which he had to apologize for. I believe he picked her simply because of the deep pockets, so he could fund his campaign. She has no political experience. The situation of the divorce with Bryn was that she had an affair with Elon Musk, which both of them deny. However, the Wall Street Journal had multiple sources. They have never buckled. They issued a statement literally a couple of weeks ago saying they stand by their original story, Eric. She never sued them. She wrote a huge article. She never sued them. She wrote a huge article in People magazine denouncing the story in Wall Street Journal. Her lawyers were aggressive verbally, but did nothing legally. And that is, as you're well aware, the key to the kingdom when it comes to these types of stories, Eric.
Also, it's not like the guy she supposedly had an affair with didn't have the money to sue and isn't willing to sue on the drop of a hat himself. So both of them have plenty of budget to sue over defamation and go after a reporter, and they don't.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. But my favorite thing about her is she was involved in something, and this is very obscure, but I love the obscure. She was involved in something called the Hoffman process. And you just go, what is the Hoffman process, the Hoffman project? What could this possibly be that this woman was involved in? This is a cult-like process which you embed yourself in a sensory deprivation 2-week program, Eric, where you are torn down, kind of like Est, kind of like the Forum, complete sensory deprivation, no electronics, no books, no reading, no newspapers, no TV, no phones, no talking to your family, nothing. You go to a place in the woods, blah, blah, blah. The British have really, with MI6, taken this by the horns now. And Bob Hoffman, by the way, the guy who invented this, was merely a tailor from Oakland who licensed it out to the UK many years ago. It's a complete sensory deprivation program that she says changed her life. And this is a process that's so psychologically debilitating that it is a total brainwashing process, Eric, where your brain is stripped down. Nobody's ever heard of this. This has been on my radar for a number of years. It's been used only by the elites, Eric. The elites who have childhood trauma have used this super expensive project called the Hoffman Project, or the Hoffman process, which is, like I said, very similar to Est or the Forum. So I don't know if you want someone to be the vice president in waiting with their finger on the nuclear button, who's gone through this incredible brainwashing program. And I think MI6 is really it started in the United States, but I think MI6 is now using it quite a bit over there in England.
Lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we have and I'm not trying to trash him for being an addict, but we've never put forth a heroin addict as a president, as far as I know. And again, I God bless, I'm glad that he's sober and everything else, but with the pressure and everything involved, can you maintain sobriety that well? I don't know. I mean, that's
it's right. That's someone in recovery you're talking about. I mean, Clinton was a sex addict, not in recovery. George W. Bush was an alcoholic, famously. His wife famously said, it's either me or Jack Daniels. His father was an alcoholic. LBJ was an alcoholic. We've just never had a heroin addict, but at least it's a heroin addict in recovery. He's got a double cross of being a sex addict and a heroin addict. I think this, him surrounding himself with these smoking hot women around a certain age is not by accident. I think this is part of his motif, and I think somehow he's going to end up with this woman and get rid of his wife that he has now.
Well, I don't know. Amaryllis may not let that happen.
Right, Amaryllis may fight to the death. Maybe a trouble. We don't know.
What do you want to bet that Amaryllis isn't really tight with the VP candidate? Let me see. With her billionaire father, her running in a similar circle. CIA. I'm sure that I'm sure.
So this has
happy family.
I6 all over it, with Stanford, with the Hoffman process. I mean, this is so crazy. The autistic thing, the AI thing coming out of Stanford. Her specialty is AI, Eric, and how it can be used for good instead of evil. Don't forget the fight that Musk had with people at Google over AI.
Sam Altman.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to unpack here that they may be creating a third party for the future, not this election cycle, but maybe for the future of Silicon Valley tech, Chinese Communist Party, human Hoffman process people. This may be a total movement of people, not for this election cycle, but for the next ones.
Well, that actually would fall into the WEF New World Order, type of thing. And then you have Elon Musk, who's he hired for CEO? Yacarino, who worked for the WEF. And so, yes, and there is a question, too, of tech overlords. These guys aren't that different than the robber barons of the 1800s, the Bill Gates. I mean, look at Bill Gates. What does he invest in? Vaccines, food and
farmland.
Yeah. And controlling everything that we consume one way or another, right? Think about it. He's controlling what goes into our bodies. That's interesting, isn't it?
Well, don't forget his father was involved in Planned Parenthood. I mean, so not just in your bodies, what comes out of your bodies.
Yeah. Yep. And there's a lot of eugenics questions in that mix. It's dark.
It is dark, and he's in the middle of it, this guy. Again, there's more here than we know. I wouldn't trust any of these people as far as I could see them. They are not even wolves in sheep clothing. I mean, by him picking her, what Trump people are still going to say, yeah, I don't like Trump that much. I'm going to vote for RFK, despite the fact that his VP is as far left as Chairman Mao. I mean, give me a break. This has got to hurt him, Eric. This has got to hurt. Am I crazy? Or, I mean, did he just shoot himself in the foot? Or was this a pay-to-play situation where whoever put up the most money got to play the role of VP in his fictitious, crazy quest for the presidency?
Maybe that both are true. I mean, maybe it's like it's fun to be running for president, but we don't necessarily want to be president. Remember, everybody accused Trump of that.
Yeah.
Or not everybody, but many people did in 2015, 2016, saying, hey, the guy doesn't even really want to be president. He just is along for the ride because, running for president, it gets you a lot of, notoriety, things like that. Even John McAfee, who I interviewed, ran for president twice.
Well, Apple did it with Roger Stone sticking on him for years. Remember, he went up to Maine for a primary. I mean, this goes all the way back with Trump and Roger Stone coming to him, and then the sit down with Nixon, where Nixon's him had a summit, so to speak. There was supposed to be an hour, ended up being like 11 hours, according to some sources, with him and Nixon educating him on how to do this. So there's a long road that Trump started on.
Yeah. And I mean, and he even was looking at different parties back in the day.
Yeah. And he's a Democrat, for Christ's sakes.
But let's circling back to eugenics and philosophies of people. Here's a pair that I don't know that Bill Gates' father would necessarily have wanted to be around.
We've been talking about this all day in my household, and apparently these two were on TLC for a number of years, kind of grew up on TLC. So I didn't know about this, but other people around me have been following the Siamese twins for a number of years, and now, of course, getting married. The possibilities are endless. Let me just put it this way. They have two separate heads, but the organs all the way down below are shared. They write emails with their hands. That there's kind of a telepathy between the two of them, from what I understand, Eric. They're able to they share one urinary tract, but they have two stomachs. And oh my God,
it's two hearts, two hearts, four lungs.
Go ahead.
Two stomachs. Everything below the stomach, is shared.
Right.
And I hate to say this is the one time I can be somewhat cheeky, and I mean it. I will call them they. This is a case where it could be.
Oh, no, that's definitely a they.
That's a they.
By the way, I mean, Abby's the one that married him, and the other one may be looking for her own husband, for Christ's sakes. Then what?
And all I can say on that is God bless. I mean, this is one case that I'm like, it's odd, but what options do they really have? I mean,
I don't know, but they could give birth. Her mother wants them to have children so she could be a grandmother. I mean, who's the mother? Who's the mother?
They.
How about this wedding night they have when she breaks up virginity with her new husband, who is not unlike Hunley, a former U.S. Army veteran who was apparently open-minded enough to marry one of them out of the two. He didn't marry both, because that would have been bigamy and big of him.
Oh, but and again, I'm actually not making fun of it. It's such an odd.
No, I'm not either. It's hard for me to understand how this can work.
And I hope it does.
What does she do? Close her eyes when they're making love?
Well, if they share the same plumbing, they both. I mean, are they feeling different things at the same time?
Well, one apparently drinks tons of water, and the other one doesn't. and they have to share the same urinary tract.
Oh, that's odd. It's like, why do you have to keep drinking?
No, I'm not even making this up. Dude, there are real problems and real problems that they don't have, real problems that they do have, but there are problems and there are real issues when you have that situation. But it goes further back than this. There was a great film by Michael Polish and his brother. Polish, there's two brothers who write and direct. They're like the Coen brothers, but they're twins. They're twins. And they did a film called Twin Falls, Idaho. It's about 20 years ago. It was an independent film, indie fun, Sundance Film Festival darling, which I happened to just watch about 6 months ago. I was showing it to a friend of mine. This is Twin Falls, Idaho. They are Siamese twins who live in a SRO, rundown SRO in Manhattan. And one of them calls for an escort to come over and service one of them. And she falls in love with one of them. Dude, you got to see this film. If anybody's around this weekend, wants to see a really the Polish brothers are not hacks. They're quite, they did a movie called Big Sur. They've done a lot of very fascinating movies. But this was the one that put them on the map. This won a bunch of awards, Twin Falls, Idaho. Highly recommended film, totally out there. But this goes back even further to 1811 with these two guys, Eric. The original Siamese twins.
I think that's where I got the term Siamese twins.
Well, they were born in Siam.
Yeah,
they were born in Siam. That's on the left is Chang Bunker, if I remember this. It's been a long time, and Eng Bunker on the right. They were born in 1811, so this must be, I want to say, 1875, 1870. After the Civil War, they hooked up with Barnum and Bailey, with P.T. Barnum, and became a famous circus act. They were millionaires, by the way. People don't realize they were multimillionaires from their circus travels with Barnum, who made them millionaires.
They're not as conjoined as the twins we're talking about either. Here, you could tell that, like, one, they have separate legs.
Oh, yeah.
I'm willing to bet that they're probably these two, maybe with modern medicine, could have been separated. I know.
Right. And somebody told me that the girls, one of them, there's an extra hand sticking out of the back that's controlled by the little head on the right, the non-married, non-Abby one. The other one has the hand coming out of somewhere, either the side or the back. I'm not really sure. I've never seen a photo of it. But I've been informed by people who follow the reality show that she has an extra hand there. It's just so wild that everyone treats them normally, though. They have a big social following of friends. When they come over to your house for a party. The two of them come over, and people treat them as two people.
Well, that would also be weird for conversations. I mean, anyway, it is such a crazy experiment.
Take a look at the bottom part of that. You see the problem at the bottom.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the problem, not the top. I mean, the shared things on the bottom are bizarre.
Yeah, agreed. And
because that makes them one person, Eric.
Well, in a way, yes, and no. I mean, what determines a person? I mean, having two brains. Yeah. That's two thinking entities who.
Well, Hollywood has tackled this, as you're well aware, with Ray Milland and Rosie Greer, The Thing with Two Heads, which people know. Film aficionados know what I'm talking about. One of the craziest movies of all time. The legendary actor Ray Milland with Rosie Greer looking over his shoulder, making believe that Rosie Greer, this is the Rams. One of the fearsome foursome linemen of the LA Rams, who was also a bodyguard of RFK, who wrestled the gun out of Sirhan's hand, was in the classic movie, I think The Man or the Thing with Two Heads, where they didn't have much process back then in terms of special effects. So Rosie Greer's head is really on Ray Milland's shoulder, and they shoot the whole film that way. I highly recommend that film. With Twin Falls, Idaho, if you want to go that route this weekend.
Everybody.
But a real film I would recommend. I started going down the Jonathan Glazer film route. Jonathan Glazer famously or infamously denounced the Jews during the Oscars. He made this Holocaust film. He's a British Jew, of course. or says he is, and denounced the situation in Gaza with an amazing amount of mistakes and blunders during his award-winning Holocaust film. But he also made a film, which I'm recommending this weekend, called Sexy Beast. I think it was back in 2000, about 20 years ago. His first real film, Ray Winstone and Ben Kingsley.
Yeah, Ben Kingsley, I remember that.
Great film. I watched it again. I hadn't seen it in 20 years. So I'd highly recommend Sexy Beast to see where this guy came from as a filmmaker. Really super talented. What Guy Ritchie wanted to be. This guy is the Tarantino of England. And don't forget The Gentleman, which I'm starting to binge watch now. It's an episodic on Netflix by Guy Ritchie, actually. Really well done. I don't know anybody in the cast, but
sometimes it's better.
Yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, I don't want to know anybody in the cast. The Guy Ritchie thing, The Gentleman, I highly recommend that.
Yeah, Guy Ritchie is cool. There's some cool English stuff out there for sure. But I remember Ben Kingsley. I think I saw that a long time ago, and Ben Kingsley's performance in that was nothing like Gandhi. It was like
no. This is
like a hard ass.
He's a hard ass gangster in this thing, and it is Tarantino-esque to say the least. I mean, you will be shocked. Ray Winstone, of course, does show up in The Gentleman. He's been around a long time. Vinnie Jones is in there. A great British actor in The Gentleman. It's a lot of the same people who act in that world in England, crime thrillers, which I like.
Wow. So, all right, you know what? Let's take a brief pause in the news and let's go grocery shopping.
I love this thing, Eric. I saw that this morning, and it's an interactive ad by the Trump campaign where if you scroll down, you check off the things that you go shopping at, and a computer figures out your cost from the Trump era to today and the percentage of difference. I've been doing this all day, just pressing all the different things you would normally buy. And right below that is the calculation by the machine to tell you the difference, 50 to 60, 70, 45% differences in most of the food items.
That's perfect. See how smart this is? I prefer boneless chicken thighs versus breast.
Oh, really?
Okay. Definitely. Oh, yeah. Because the breasts, especially on the grill, are so easy to dry out. You have to marinate them or whatever. Yes. Thighs give you a lot more forgiveness. You see, this is smart already. Picking the.
Let's see the percentage difference that you're paying now.
We'll just go with the thighs. We'll start with that.
All right. Okay.
It was $2 under Trump, $3.82. So
it's 100% increase.
Yeah, not quite double.
It's at 91%. It's almost 100% increase. Okay, that's not bad.
No. Let's see. The ribeye steak is 82% increase. Okay,
right. That's not bad.
Yeah. Let me see. Milk. That's probably going to be hit. 47.9.
Look at egg. Just take eggs by itself. I'm curious about eggs.
Well, eggs was really bad for a while. So let me pull that out. Let's go to eggs. No, it's actually down. For a while, eggs was really bad, but it's still more money.
I think it has gone down. Yeah. What about coffee?
Coffee. Yeah. By the way, Moondo's makes fine coffee.
That's right.
33.3.
All right.
You know what? Actually, we're pretty messed up in the head that we're like, oh, it's only 33.3%.
Right. That's why is it? There's no product that went the other way. So there's not one product that it's even the same.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. 67% for the brisket. I mean, the funny thing is that this is great. It's simple and it's to the point.
I love this.
But I will say that anybody who goes to the grocery store knows. And that's why I laugh about everybody saying that's not true. Actually,
not true.
If you go to job pickers, they try to come up with the financial numbers or whatever. I'm like, this is bullshit. Anybody who goes to the grocery store or goes to buy gas, it's in their face.
Yep.
I mean,
hard to gaslight that thing. You know what I mean? Very hard to gaslight when it's in your face like that. You could gaslight a lot of events, but not when it's everyday prices, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
On everything on the planet Earth, the way the American history of politics works, Trump should theoretically win by a landslide. This is Jimmy Carter, Reagan era stuff, right?
Yeah, this is like stagflation.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got inflation and wages are suffering. It's bad.
Stagflation. I forgot about that. You're right.
So, I mean, and that was something unique to Carter now.
Yeah.
And Trump has said it.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, Trump has said it. Hey, congratulations, Jimmy. You're not the worst.
Apparently he couldn't make it to Madison Square Garden last night, or Radio City last night.
Probably not. The dude is barely. I mean, he's in the same state as what's her Feinstein was.
Right.
I mean,
I think Feinstein was better off than Jimmy Carter.
I'm just not sure when
she was
passed.
making votes in the Senate at least.
Yeah, even after death. So that's skill. Oh God.
But I love that little chart there. If you could find that, maybe put it up on Locals afterwards. People could have some fun with it.
Oh, sure. I'm pretty sure that's going to be going viral anyway. That
yeah.
Even by people arguing. But you know what? Money counts. So I want to get to some super chats while we're talking about overpaying money on groceries.
Right on, brother. I got some good stories afterwards. So let me know.
All right. Well, we'll take together. James Malfatti with $20. Thank you. Was Papa Pilgrim tied to Nixon or JFK?
Maybe both. I don't know. We're going to find out. He's definitely tied to the JFK thing.
Yep. He's to
Connolly. Well, I don't know about Nixon, but I think he might have fled by that time, Pilgrim.
And then Dick Dickerson with some more memberships. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
This guy's a membership god.
Yeah, he is. I mean, AUS and memberships. X percentage by Dick Dickerson. PD, $20 Canadian, kind of like needing cameras everywhere to protect us from crime, then refusing to prosecute crime.
Yeah, I mean, what's it? Look, if you have a guy like Gascon funded by RFK's VP choice, I think she's thrown down, just for this past campaign, she threw down $150,000, which was enough to put him over the top. You're talking about a DA race where it's not.
And that was last year, right?
No, it was 3.5 years ago. It was 4 years ago. Yeah, he had a recall. They wouldn't let anybody see the counting of the votes. They refused to do. They did signature matching and claimed to throw out just enough signatures to let him eke by about 20,000 recall votes. Just so you know, on the recall. But the woman who was defeated was a liberal Democrat, black, who was touted as one of the first big city black DAs. That's who Nicole Shanahan, helped defeat in Los Angeles by funding her Marxist friend out of San Francisco via Cuba, George Gascon. That's the choice that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has selected, and why LA is overrun by strong arm robberies and gangsters who are completely running amok because of his vice presidential choice funding George Gascon. Just so people know, I'm going to drive this into their freaking heads until he gets a new VP candidate, which is never going to happen. So I'm just going to keep talking about it.
No, thank you for the content, RFK Jr.
Thank you.
Let me see. Apparently, Barnes thinks that RFK Jr.'s VP pick was brilliant. Did Trump make a mistake by not selecting her as VP before RFK Jr. had a chance?
That's funny. Yeah, thank you. That's very funny. Well, brilliant is in what way, though? I mean, if maybe it's helping Trump. Maybe that's his idea of brilliance. I'd have to agree with that then.
Feldman, in addition to the new mic.
Hey, Feldman, get it through your fat head. It's got nothing to do with the mic. I know it's complicated. Thanks for the money.
Pamela Gwinnell Edwards Clifton with RFK.
Is she married a lot of people, Pamela, or is this like her middle?
I don't know. I mean, she could be royalty. I mean, like Prince, Harry, blah, 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 blah. It's like, they have 10 names.
Right.
Hi, here I am. Have a happy Easter. Can't wait for Tuesday. Oh, yes. She helped contribute to what may be Tuesday's show. I'm not revealing to people what it is, though. No spoilers, Pamela.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah. Something was lost. Some of it has been found. That might be Tuesday's show.
Oh, my God.
Everybody can go chasing Wikipedia and figure that one out.
Right.
Blitzen gave 20 America's Untold Stories membership. That's like $100 of a gift. So thank you very much. That's so generous.
Wow. I'm going to ring the bell to celebrate so people can subscribe while they're thinking about, well, they feel guilted by the gifted 20 memberships by Blitzen.
Yeah, 10 more for Dickerson. Bell for
it's Blitzen versus Dickerson at this point.
That's right.
Let's face it. It's a war of attrition.
Hell yeah. I mean, just amazing. Speaking of Dick Dickerson, and we discussed this earlier on my Layback News show. 2 minutes of the ship in Baltimore's black box was missing, according to the NTSB investigators, but they'll name the bridge the George Floyd Memorial. That's funny.
I'll tell you what. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
As far as the missing time, one of the people I had on the show is Legal Vices, and he's a unique guy. He's actually a maritime lawyer, and he knows all about the ships and the black boxes and things. And according to him, there is an electrical outage that was shutting the ship down, and that was being fed into the tape. So while the recorder was able to pick up the audio because it was on battery backup, well, there was no electricity sending any signals. There was no signals to record. So it's going to have 2 minutes or more of no signal. And I encourage everybody to check that out. I did it at noon. It's Layback Law. We did discuss if you want to get in depth on.
Well, I don't think you discussed Project Azorian, did you?
Probably not.
Law. Project Azorian is very interesting regarding the situation with the ship, because they're bringing in the CIA's top secret crane, the world's largest crane that the CIA developed for Project Azorian back in the day to bring up K-129, the Soviet nuclear sub that had SSN-4 nuclear ballistic missiles on it that sank in 1968, 1,800 miles northwest off the coast of Hawaii. They're bringing in one of the top secret CIA devices that the CIA has crowed about internally since then to bring up that Soviet sub. The crane is the world's largest crane, and it's part of a secret device that the CIA used to bring this up. It broke it in half. They got half of it up with the Soviet dead bodies in it back in the day. It was a Cold War coup at the time, Eric. They never got the entire sub up. And when they went back down for the second half, the plan was revealed, and the world got to learn about their attempts to get the Soviet nuclear sub off the ocean bottom off the coast of Hawaii. So that was part of the Hughes Glomar Explorer, which was owned by Howard Hughes, by the way. The Hughes Glomar Explorer was the rounded thing that they were going to go down under the sea as a submarine to look at this thing. That was the cover story. The real story was using this secret CIA crane that they're now using in Baltimore to deal with the wreckage of the bridge.
Okay. I will say that what you described, though, does make me think that it might be okay. You just said it was the world's largest crane.
Yeah.
And do you realize how large that freighter is?
I personally don't, but the fact that the CIA
I'm just saying it's the width of a football field, and it's 3,000 meters long. So it's like it is such a large vessel. It might be possible that's one of the only things that can move the son of a bitch around.
Yes. It's just, I find it interesting that the powerful floating crane played such a huge role in the CIA. It's one of the greatest intelligence coups of the Cold War, according to the CIA. I just find it fascinating that they're immediately involved in this.
Yeah. I mean, I again, though, but I definitely want to always, step back, especially because I don't know. I want to see, what goes down. It is a horrible incident, though, however it went. And I do push back. Apparently, some are claiming the government doesn't want an investigation. If they stop an investigation, then I have a giant issue, because why wouldn't you want to find out exactly how to prevent that from happening in the future? What procedures can be taken to address this? Because Obviously a ship that size hitting a bridge could take out a bridge. I mean, it just, it's kind of like it's like a train hitting a Burger King or, maybe something bigger or a mall, whatever, but it's still going to take it out.
Yeah.
Just the scope and the size. But let me see.
Well, I don't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mary F said, thank you, Blitzen, for giving a monthly membership. So this is sweet. Membership given away and a super chat to thank that we get, and we collect on both. I like this system.
I like that.
Stephen McMahon, we have a question going and Mark can answer. Where did the third finger salute originate? I thought USA inherited it from England.
I don't know anything about the third finger salute.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like flipping somebody off. In England, I know they do two fingers.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know.
I mean, the
Somebody
sign
in the chat.
Bernadine Dorn invented the sign of the fork, which she said to eat and kill your parents with a fork. So that became one of the symbols of the Weather Underground.
And adopted by the Manson girls.
And also adopted by the daughter of Mark Felt, the second in command of the FBI, who became a member of the Weather Underground.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know which three finger thing he's suggesting, but by the way, highly recommend Hollywood Takeover, the movie about the Hollywood takeover of the American film industry. It's on Epic Times. I think you could see it for free on there. Chris Fenton, who's an old friend of mine, he is featured in it. He was involved in Looper, and he was involved in Iron Man 3. He interfaced with the Chinese government for Hollywood for a number of years until he was unwoked and realized that he was doing more evil than he was good. And he's featured throughout the film. It's 100. I want to say it's about 70 minutes long. It's not 90 minutes, about 70, 65 minutes long. Well worth it to learn about what the relationship is between Hollywood and the Chinese Communist Party and how this thing went awry and how to get it back on track. So if you have a chance to see that film this weekend, it's not that long, but chock full of Hollywood facts about the Chinese Communist Party and how they censor our films.
All right. And Paul Martin wants to share a story with us. A sword swallower. A man set the world's record swallowing a 6-foot-long sword. Sadly, he was only 5'3", and he has a new job picking up papers in the park. Nice job. Keeps him hopping.
That's very funny. That's very funny. Wow.
Oh, that is some dark humor there, buddy.
That's dark. No wonder the FBI is going door to door.
Hey, I hate seeing that because I'm like, gee, is somebody going to be watching us? No, I've interviewed numerous FBI agents, so hopefully I have an in with at least the retirees. So maybe they'll leave you alone. I don't know. Pogo in 1977. Question. A lone nutter told me that Oswald's tax records were released and show no ties to intelligence. Are they still
no deductions? Did he take out deductions for killing the president? Really? He didn't deduct any of the stuff? His weapons or his bullets? He'd be foolish. He should have gone to Jacoby and Myers.
Yeah, I don't know. That's craziness. We have one. Serena Williams' white husband gave up his seat on Reddit's board for a person of color.
You know what? I'm not going to accept that one because it's Serena Williams' husband. I want someone not connected to a black radical sports star.
That's true.
By the way, LeBron James is going crazy because the squatting house is right next door to where he lives in Beverly Hills, and he's telling them to go in and forcefully get these people out. You talk not in my backyard, NIMBY. LeBron James apparently not shutting up and dribbling, very aggressively yelling about this house sitting situation next door. Very interesting, but not as interesting as a guy I'm going to tell you about now, which covers so much terrain. The guy's name is Mickey Barretto. Barretto is a gay man from LA who went to New York to visit his gay lover. The gay lover and him had sex in this hotel, the New Yorker. And the New Yorker is right next door to Penn Station. Anybody knows New York. The New Yorker is famously owned by the Unification Church. Reverend Moon bought the hotel in the 70s, if I remember correctly, or late 70s. But the hotel was even famous before that because Tesla lived in that hotel for about 10 years, Eric. The Nikola Tesla story that we covered, he lived in the New Yorker. Anyway, so this guy shows up to room 2839, whatever it is, at the New Yorker, and his boyfriend, who was in the hotel room, said he found a loophole in New York City tenant law that said if you're a resident in a hotel after 1969, you can get what's almost like a low-income housing rent reduction and live in that hotel in perpetuity for this low-income housing rent reduction. It's almost like rent stabilization or low-income housing. So the guy goes to the front desk and tells them, I want a lease for room 2869. And they go, what? He goes, yeah, under this obscure guideline in the New York City Housing Code, I found out that I could live here forever, right? Based on, and he paid $149 a night. So he paid for whatever he was paying for, was $149 a night. So because it was Reverend Moon's people, they simply went upstairs, took all their stuff, and threw them out on the street, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The gay guy, goes to court, and the judge, who is bemused by the case, sides with the tenant and orders the church-owned hotel to give him his key and let him stay there in perpetuity. So he goes back, gets the key to the room. He's in there for 5 years, not paying rent. Okay? Now, in that 5 years, here's where it gets crazy. He goes downstairs to the businesses and tells them he is the owner of the hotel. Why is he the owner of the hotel? Because he made a phony deed and filed it with the New York Buildings Association, and now they're paying rent to him. The people in the businesses in the hotel, dude, you can't make this up. But apparently Alvin Bragg couldn't take it. This is the district attorney in New York, and he was arrested for fraud and various other things. But wow, the ultimate squatter. He's going into the Squatter Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. Mickey Barretto, the New Yorker Hotel. You can look it up. Stayed there for 5 years, claiming he owned the entire building.
Okay, well, hold on. I mean, there are other contenders. You shouldn't just, give the prize automatically to him. What about we have the squatters in Texas who just had a yard sale on all of her belongings?
Good one.
They deserve their
honorable mention. Yeah,
absolutely.
Good one.
I mean, and then of course, you have our friend Lionel Marino, the one who made it famous.
He's on the run now, right?
He is on the run. I'm happy to say, but while he's on the run, he's taunting everybody by saying, "Hey, look!" No, I'm trying to find the picture, but like, here's a cop car behind me, up yours. That kind of.
Right.
I hope he has a very nice thing, but yeah, the Venezuelans are ashamed of him. They're like, "Oh my God, this guy, he's not one of ours." Wow. Not one of ours.
Wow. But he is one of yours. And somehow, once they get here, I mean, who knows how much influence this guy has had in taking over homes across the country? He's got something like 350,000 TikTok followers, for Christ's sakes.
Well, even if he doesn't, Mark, there's entire forums.
Oh, wow. I knew it.
On how to do it.
I figured that was going on. Yeah.
And by the way, it's very interesting. You could say something pro-Trump or somewhat conservative, and they'll find those tweets, but somehow they can't find these forums.
Yeah.
They can't just, it's a mystery. That they can sit there and tell people how to steal other people's property. And, well, hey, that's okay, Mark. Wow. They didn't really
They don't see it as stealing. I mean, look what the governor of Florida did so quickly, making it illegal to squat without law enforcement coming to take you out of there. I mean, DeSantis, you got to tip your hat how quickly he moved and how efficiently he moved. I assume it'll hold up in court. But he's now saying that if you squat in a residence, the police can remove you immediately, and you could settle it in court on your own later on. But you're not staying in that house settling it.
Right. Oh, by the way, one tip that I did learn tangentially from one of the people who was dealing with the squatters is whatever you do not serve up an eviction notice. Yeah. Because as soon as you do that, then now you're suddenly it's a relationship and it's a dispute.
Right. You're in the system then.
Right. But it also gives them rights because now they have tenant rights. If you write an eviction, oh, well, then they're a tenant. And you don't want to do that. So definitely get with the lawyers.
Well, put it this way. If somebody's trespassing on your property, just trespassing, I'm saying walking on your land, you don't serve them with eviction papers to get out of your backyard. That's how you got to look at it. Like trespassing on your property, hunting, let's say, on your land, you don't give them eviction. You cite them with trespassing.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah.
But in an urban environment, somebody who's ensconced, you might think to get eviction papers.
Right, because they just think, oh, I want to get them out. What's the word for getting people out? Oh, evict.
I want to evict
and it's the wrong choice. So
if they had hired the Grosbear house sitting firm, this never would have happened. Because we would have house sit for you 24/7. Nobody would have gotten in there. Especially with our electric door system that electrocutes anyone when the system is activated.
Definitely. So let me go back to some more super chats here. JS said, fun fact, the movie Sexy Beast is loosely based on my life.
Okay, everybody knew that. Go on.
By loosely, I mean, I'm a lazy, fat couch potato. You're both fantastic. Happy Easter to those who honor this day.
That's brilliant. Happy Easter to you too. I mean, it's kind of interesting because Ray Winstone, just not to give the movie away, is a retired gangster living a pretty good life in Spain. He's retired until he gets a call from Ben Kingsley, who's not happy that he's retired and wants him to do another job. Hence, that's the foundation of the movie. So I think you'll enjoy it. If you like my other recommendations, you'll like Sexy Beast.
All right. Al Gonzalez comes in. That Baltimore bridge collapse looks sketchy. Heard NYPD internally is not ruling out. It was a test run. Now taking precautions for NYC.
Wow. Oh, I didn't realize that. Thanks, Al. Yeah, that you do have to guard the bridges in that case because if it was a test run, other bridges could be taken out similarly.
Yeah. Again, though, it was a poor choice because the wrong time of day, things like that. It's like if you're going to have an effect, it'd be great, to do it at 8 a.m. or some rush hour.
The proof's in the pudding. The bridge is gone.
I guess, but if it's going down that route of maximum damage,
but it may be maximum damage of infrastructure, let alone killing people, Eric.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to take out the grid, if you want to take out the infrastructure as opposed to killing humans, you may want to avoid the emotional toll of killing humans, psychologically. I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I want you to think about that.
I am, and I'm just going to settle on probably an accident.
Okay.
For now, and if more proof comes in, cool.
You're one of the people that believes that Building 7 just fell down on its own.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you're one of the Building 7 wasn't thermited at the base.
Well, absolutely, because Mark told me it wasn't.
Well, I believe that Building 7 was absolutely thermited at the base. It's nowhere near the other buildings. I mean, the real proof of a conspiracy in the 9/11 thing is Building 7, and everybody knows that. You can't get around Building 7.
All right. BTK, crime rates are down because crimes were legalized.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've heard that today. I heard the same thing today. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
George Soros is funding Hamas. Not surprising since he helped the Nazis against his own Jewish community in WW2.
Right. Oh, you know what? That makes perfect sense then. Makes perfect sense. Why not support Hamas? You supported the Nazis or whatever you want to call these people. It's interesting. We were talking before the show about Joe Rogan, who has come out to say that the Jews are committing in Hamas. I was shocked to hear that from Rogan, but Eric was not. He was shocked, but not surprised.
Well, and
I mean, he's got so much information at his fingertips. It is a little shocking that somebody with that much access to information would come out with that conclusion.
Dude, he's a moron half the time. I mean, come on.
You know, you're right.
Is he not the same? And I like Joe Rogan in general, but he's like Jimmy Dore. That's kind of his crowd. Remember, he's the guy who managed to platform or have on a killer, guy who, I'm sorry. Right. I'm not going to call him a killer. I will say someone who stored human body remains in an odd manner in his household.
Right.
Within 1 month of being on Joe Rogan. So, I mean, come on. And in fairness, Joe's the first one to say, I'm just a comedian. I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
What do you want from me?
Well, then he's Jimmy Dore. In that case.
He kind of is Jimmy Dore. They're similar.
Very similar. You're right.
And Kurt Metzger does the writing. I think.
Yeah, Metzger was on the show. That's when they were talking about it.
Wow, and I didn't even see it, and I somehow put those together.
Yeah, Kurt Metzger was the guest.
Yeah, Kurt Metzger does all the writing. He
came over from the other building, the Jimmy Dore building, and he told Rogan that Jimmy Dore said it's genocide.
Yeah, so it's.
It must be true. Jimmy Dore said it.
Yeah, I mean, and it was kind of like, why didn't he say it yet when it first came out?
Somebody was on today. I was watching Newsmax. They were talking about how astonishing it is of what Biden is willing to do for foreign policy to try to win the states of Minnesota and Michigan in the upcoming election, and how shocking what he's doing to an ally for those two states election-wise. It is shocking. It is shocking.
Oh,
that's clearly what it's about.
So I happened to look over at Rumble, and Missy B 2020 said that the TikTok squatter dude was just arrested in Ohio.
Woohoo! Way to go, squatter dude.
Good news. Lock him up
for
in
the
Youngstown.
Squatter dude. Yeah, Youngstown Police Department got him.
And while we're talking about Ohio, Dustin had to buggy jack. That's a new one. Buggy jack a horse-drawn carriage from an Amish couple to make the show on time. Awesome show as always.
Wow, thanks, Dustin. Wow, yeah, buggy jacking. It's an old tradition going back to the 1800s. I mean, you don't hear that much anymore.
No, it preceded all the carjacking of modern day stuff.
Yeah, before there were cars, you had to buggy jack somebody. Wow.
No kidding. Doblo Greenhead, thank you very much.
That's a great name, Doblo Greenhead. It sounds like, dude, it sounds like some Hasidic Mexican gang lord.
God. Todd Gavin is a member for 4 months. Thank you. I remember the CIA crane ship docked in Long Beach.
Okay, thank you. I thought I was crazy. Okay, thank you. They got to keep it somewhere. It was originally built, I think, in New Jersey, but I've been wondering where it's been all these years. So maybe it's been in Long Beach, like everything else. It's a crane.
Okay. That's a place to put.
You got to see what Long Beach looks like. They keep the Zeppelin down there too. The Goodyear blimp is down there. There's so many crazy things in Long Beach, that industrial things. There's so many cranes, oil rigs, cargo ships with those coming in from China. Wow. It's the biggest port, I think, that we have. I mean, it's bigger than New York, and I think it's bigger than New Orleans.
I'm not sure, but like the Baltimore port, circling around to that is that's the largest port for
east
for container ships and that type of thing. And then where I live, we have the largest naval presence in terms of I forget. There's more nuclear power condensed in.
Let me tell you something. My mother had the largest naval I've ever seen.
I won't touch that. Double Greenhand continues, and thus the origin of the so-called Glomar response. The first use of we can neither confirm.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Wow, far out. Is that true? I mean, I'm taking that as not a joke, but the fact that it was Howard Hughes was involved in this, I thought was interesting back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard that under a name, but then again, that's kind of like Mark Lane and conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
Everything has a start. Glomar response.
Is that a thing?
It is a thing.
Okay, right on. Tell him what he's won, Bob.
It's a Glomar response, glomarization, or Glomar denial.
Glomar denial. I like that one. Wow.
So that is
I mean,
so cool.
officially it was unsuccessful, but they felt that it was successful because that they got to use their toys. I think they broke the goddamn thing in half, but I think they traded those Soviet bodies for some sort of other bodies that they had of ours. I'm going to have to look that up. I think there was a body swap.
Okay, so there we go. It is named off of the USNS Hughes Glomar Explorer, which is the large salvage vessel built by the CIA that did it. So
wow, that's genius.
That is cool.
Yeah, it was a race to get that nuclear sub, by the way.
Apparently. Let me see. So, some more stories. You have some there. We did lose a politician. Former vice presidential candidate died this past week. Joe Lieberman, who almost was a VP candidate for both sides because McCain was very close to picking him in 2008.
I forgot about that.
They were super tight.
Wow.
Very, very good friends.
Well, his famous line was because of his Orthodox Judaism. He said, if I'm elected vice president, I'll be on the job 24/6.
I love that.
People forgot that, but Lieberman famously said that because of Shabbos.
I think he's one of those rare ones. Yeah. I don't hear that much bad about him. I know they hated him when he became an independent, but most people, I think, like the guy. He was a pretty straight up dude.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Schumer liked him because right before he died, he went after Chuck Schumer for throwing Israel under the bus.
So he
heavily criticized Chuck Schumer.
I believe that, but I mean, what is the worst thing about Chuck Schumer? His record or his relation to Amy? I don't know. I mean, if you have that as a representative of your family, I mean, it's just shame all the way around, Mark.
Dude, he never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. This guy to really put his foot in his mouth. I mean, it's astounding. How many things this guy has said that are just all over the map. That they're coming for the Supreme Court. There's 6 ways to Sunday with the CIA, denouncing Israel as one of the top Jewish leaders in the nation. Astounding.
Wow. You said you had a couple more stories there.
Who, me?
Yeah. Or are we heading to locals for a party?
I could make up a couple more stories, but those I think I'm okay with the ones that I had. I don't know if you have any left over that I sent to you or.
Nope. I'm actually finishing out here with Jenny's getting inky with it. Seconding Mark's recommendation of the Epic Times movie regarding Hollywood goes beyond challenging changing movie posters.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. I just say something about that. I mean, I'm going to try to get Chris Fenton on the show. We were emailing each other. It is an astounding story where people went into this thing thinking, and I don't know if people remember this, that films would open up the door to democracy in China, that our culture would penetrate into the Chinese psyche and would end up bringing democracy faster to China than anything else. So when Fenton goes in on this, that's his ideology, his thinking in terms of cooperating with the Chinese. But there's also the Red Dawn story in there. There's the Iron Man 3 story in there. There's stories that he doesn't know about that I know about, dealing with Shane Black and Iron Man 3 and Downey, that I can explain to him, but he probably knows that story too better than me. Just astounding censorship. And what's not in the movie is the fact that we did the same thing with the Third Reich, that Hollywood took the Jews off of pictures, gave them pictures that didn't have Jews in them, got rid of Jewish salesmen of the pictures, took names off of the film who were Jewish, and continued until FDR ended it with war against the Third Reich. They continued to sell films to the Nazis until the day of the war. Very similar to the Chinese situation. This is not in the film. It's just my adding on to it, and I could go into detail in another episode about the Third Reich involved with Hollywood. There's a number of books on it.
Probably want to do that. Actually, I have another one here. You know how there's the good Baldwin? He's not related, as in Adam Baldwin.
Right.
Well, we kind of have that way in Congress because you have the good Kennedy.
Yeah.
And he's
This
not
guy,
related.
he is so great, this guy. I could listen to this guy all day.
Oh, God. I shared something with you tearing apart a judge, but here's something everybody should be super concerned about. It's about banking practices.
Oh, interesting.
Would require a bank to ask the question of a small business person, what's your race? What's your ethnicity? What's your sexual preference? Are you gay? Are you a woman? Now that's you can bubble wrap this all you want, but that's what your rule does. Now the customer, particularly in a small town, is going to go, whoa, what's my sexual preference have to do with a loan? And the customer can say, I don't want to answer. But then the bank you're requiring the bank to tell you that they wouldn't answer. And all of this data is going to go to your agency. And we don't have the slightest idea how you're going to use it, except you say you're going to publish it.
Well, we will not get any names at all.
But you're going to have data sets so that it's possible.
This fucking guy.
You can't tell me it's not possible to have this information known. Why do you want all this?
I don't.
Why do you want to know what a small business woman's sexual preference is?
Okay, that's a mischaracterization.
No, it's not.
Of it. Yeah, it is. We
no,
have
it's not.
congressional objectives.
No, it's not.
We had to implement it. People can self-identify. There is no personal.
Why do you want to know what a small business woman?
Right on, bro.
This is why I like the dude. I mean,
dude, every time he's on, it's one of these great. I mean, the one with the black judge where he kept asking you, "Are you still a Marxist?"
Or
that was, remember that one? That was brilliant from last week.
I just saw one. I swear I sent it to you, but I don't remember if I did. But he was interviewing somebody saying, "You're the worst judge in the entire field in terms of cases.
Yeah.
You have over 120 cases you haven't decided on.
Oh, wow.
Now, why are you asking for a promotion?"
Well, the one with the Marxist judge, she said her answer was she was going through her Marxist phase. And he said, "Will you go?" And she had studied all these different philosophies in college. And he says, "I never heard you talking about your Hindu phase. Did you go through a Buddhist phase? You didn't say anything about any other phase except your Marxist phase."
Yeah, and then he lit up the other guy who tried to come into our defense saying, "Well, Mr. Kennedy once was a Democrat, and we're very sad that he left." And then Kennedy lit him up saying, "No, but I wasn't supporting a communist, and I wasn't doing this." And it was,
wow.
I mean,
wow. And that guy's got to become somebody's vice president.
Yeah, go.
Like, why not this guy? I mean, I love this guy. I mean,
oh, he's great. He really
he could go out on the stump and make a mockery out of people.
Yeah, and he does a fantastic job of going into all this. Thank you very much, Thomas Wooden. And Otto Bond, the largest CIA crane operation
Ukraine.
is the. Oh God! All right, well played.
What's the Ukraine? Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, my favorite crane, obviously, was Bob Crane in the movie Autofocus, which you may want to see. The star of Hogan's Heroes is in a movie called Autofocus, about his
predilections.
Not only his predilections, but his demise, which is another movie pick of the week, Autofocus. Not Ukraine, but Bob Crane.
Don't watch Autofocus with the kids. Okay?
No, not that one.
It's NSFW, okay?
Well, the Twin Falls, Idaho, don't watch with the kids either because it's bizarre, but it's not like X-rated or anything. It's just a really offbeat, bizarre film.
Autofocus is borderline.
Yeah, I think it's rated R. I think it's rated R.
Right. It's like Skinamax level or whatever. So not hardcore, but
Skinamax. Whoa.
Hey, I was a teenager once. What are you gonna do?
I unfortunately have finished 4 years of Eastbound and Down, and I'm super depressed now because I've got no episodes left, and it's very, very sad. One of the great episodics of all time. I highly recommend Eastbound and Down. People are telling me on Twitter how much they're enjoying it. So
I got to check it out. Where is that?
It's set in Shelby, Alabama. It's on HBO.
HBO, okay.
It ran for
or Max or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, Max. Eric, you will love this thing. It is so crazy. The final episode, by the way, but they have cameos throughout it. Sacha Baron Cohen shows up. And I'll just leave it at that in final episode of season 4. But holy crap, what a ride.
Isn't Sasha in the news for Rebel Wilson or something?
Yeah, it sounds silly. Like told her to put her finger up her ass or something.
Okay.
It's got nothing to do with him touching her or anything.
Like a spat then.
Yeah, it was some sort of a spat or something. It's ridiculous. But holy crap, is this some ride? If you could strap yourself in for Eastbound and Down. The music done by Wayne Kramer, my old friend who passed away a little over a month ago, does the music, some of the most obscure music I've ever heard. But yeah, just an A effort. Just fantastic. Really fantastic. Eastbound and Down.
All right, last super chat, and we're going to head over to the locals after party. BTK saying Trump Kennedy 2024. Mark, I'm overspending for the vacuum I won.
You know what? It's not a crazy. Okay, let me ask you this, Eric. Who should be the nominee at this time in your mind? Again, we got to get this over with because it's going to happen whether we like it or not.
Well, I hear Vivek is definitely out, or Trump said no way in hell. I still think he's a decent choice. Carrie Lake, I'd still want her to win Senate. Maybe she won't. I don't know. People are floating J.D. Vance, but that'll take away a Senate seat, so that's not very cool.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to put out the real name for you when you're done.
Go for it.
You done?
Sure.
California, farmer, Devin Nunes. Latino, running True Social, knows how the sausage is made. Devin Nunes.
Okay. I think we've discussed him as a possibility before, but not Stephen Miller.
No, not Stephen Miller. That's never going to happen.
Well, I'm just saying. Yeah. Eastbound and Down rules true.
That's right. Danny McBride, my friend. And now, okay, the Gemstones. Danny McBride's follow-up is the Gemstone, Fabulous Gemstones, I think it's called.
Righteous
Gemstones with John Goodman, my old friend who lives in New Orleans, as the paternal leader of a flock of ministers. And the son is Danny McBride. This thing is crazy. So now I moved over to the Gemstones. Thank God. So I'm going to look at that for a while. Fraser Crane.
No, you know who I like, Dustin, is Denny Crane. Boston Legal is a fun show. I don't know if you ever watched it back in the day, but
never saw it. But there was a lot of jibber jabber on that show.
Yes. Okay. You did watch it.
There's a lot of jibber jabber. What if they want to subscribe? Is that possible?
It is definitely possible. And Thomas Witness saying, in the spirit of freeform, what was the envelopes that were distributed at GHWB's funeral? I don't know.
Who knows what that was? I mean, it's so funny. They had the Dodger game yesterday. I just want to address this thing. They had opening day at Dodger Stadium, and they've been trying to get away from this umbrella of Hollywood linked to the team for years. They don't want to be linked to Hollywood. They want to be looked at as like a Yankees of the West, and they don't like to be tainted with Hollywood stuff. So they had a guy come out to the microphone, and his name was Bryan Cranston, and he opened up an envelope like it was the Oscars, and he announced the opening day lineup. And I went, holy crap. What a freaking disaster yesterday. But I saw Bob Costas before the game, and he said the same thing I said. How did this translator get access to Ohtani's money and wire transfer millions and millions of dollars to illegal bookies in Orange County? So I'm not alone in this thing. Just hearing Bob Costas say that before the game was good for me to hear that, because the FBI is investigating now, and Ohtani hit a double down in the corner, and then he ran past the sign of the third base coach and was automatically out. But that's not the problem. The problem is the investigation and where it's going to go into Ohtani's relationship. But best line of the week, Pete Rose. If I had had an interpreter, I wouldn't have been in the which was just a brilliant line.
He actually said it?
Yeah, very funny line.
Wow.
Pete Rose, yeah, the Pete Rose. I mean, he's very funny. I met him once. He came in. He was living in the Valley here in LA, and he came in with his daughters for brunch at a place I used to go to out in Encino. And I was shocked to see Pete Rose. I, of course, shook his hand and, whatever, but got an autograph. But yeah, great line by Pete Rose. If I had an interpreter, I would have been in the trouble I was in.
God, that's one of the best lines since.
Absolutely. Because he's blaming it all on the interpreter.
Oh, yeah.
He's throwing this guy under the bus. The interpreter, I think, was hoping that Otani would say, yeah, he ran up these gambling debts and I paid him, big deal. That's it. But that would have linked Otani to illegal gambling. That's why they changed the story. That's why they changed it after 2 hours after the story came out.
And the interpreter is swinging. Let's see.
Yeah, the interpreter is going to go down. That's for sure.
Eastbound and Down, I think, EBND. Greatest cameo, Eduardo Sanchez.
That was good. Dude, there's a lot. Dude, I told you the Seth Rogen one. He shows up and gets hit by a truck 5 seconds into the appearance.
Yeah, but totally.
Gemstones also must watch. Brilliant. The Gemstones are brilliant. And I'm only into 3 episodes. You could tell that it's going to be great.
All right. Well, everybody, you should know by now, we're going to head over, follow Oswald to Locals. I hope you consider coming over for the after party. Again, you can be a Locals member for free. And I think we're heading into 17,000 people who are members, for free. And then you also can support us if you wish to later. But I always encourage everybody to at least hang out, look around. You can check out the rest of the show. The after party, we were answering questions from people there.
I also am thanking everybody for the book fund donations this week because I got to get these Watergate books. I didn't know that Nixon wrote 9 books after the White House, after the Watergate era. The guy himself wrote 9 books after Watergate.
All right. Well, we got one more. The super chats have been kind of sneaking in there, but Marty Smith fan Sue, beware Senator Kennedy. He talks a good game in hearings, but when it come right down to it, the guy votes like a complete neocon warmonger.
Well, that's not good. That's not good.
All right. Well, on that sad note, we're going to go have fun.
He's still a Kennedy, so I guess he can't get away from it.
He's the better Kennedy.
But remember,
not a good Kennedy, just better.
I was stuck on 108,000 for about 5 years.
See you on the way.